3, 2, 1.
Hello, what happened there? Greetings and welcome to another exciting show. And I'm really full of optimism this week, isn't it? Anyway, on with the show. First of all, I'll be looking at what will I be looking at? Quite a lot of things, but first, what is the beginning of this well-known rhyme? Cock Robin. Bear that in mind. Any ideas? Not exactly an answer for children, shall we say. So if there are children present, please boot them out the door and put your hands, if you've got the vicar over for tea, over his ears or her ears or whatever. So what is the beginning of this well-known rhyme? Cock Robin. Right. Now, I'll be waffling on about the website because obviously we're doing a lot of work on it, but I'll let you out your misery first. The beginning of this well-known rhyme, Cock Robin. Okay, let's look in chat. No, nobody in chat's got any ideas what the beginning of this well-known rhyme is. It's, gee, what's this up my arse, Batman? If there's Americans listening in, they're saying, what the? It's a very British gag, that one. It's only Irish and English people that will understand that. Bit of English slang in it. So if you're an American, try and find an English person, okay? Or an Irish person for that matter. Anyway, I had a little bit of trouble with the internet before coming on. It did its usual stopping and starting again, which it's always doing. Don't know why, but it is. But first of all, the website. Now, I'll quickly put it up on the flop. Where are we? It's FockhamHallRadio.com. And here we go. And what have I got here? Oh, I'll be with you in a minute. Where are we? Oh, there we are. And here it is. What do you think? Not bad, eh? And there's a blog on there as well, and that's updated regularly. I try and do it daily, but it's not always possible. But I'll just give you another quick flash of it, if that's the right word. Now, one thing they're doing is putting the blog spot at the top and moving Caroline and myself down a little bit. It needs a little bit of tweaking, but my aim, and I don't know whether I'll be able to achieve it or not, is to be able to, for you people to actually, if you're not on Facebook or ask about Facebook, as I sometimes call it, to watch our Wednesday program via the website. And I think it might be possible. So I'm going to give that a try. And so if you're not on Facebook, you may be able to see it live. Now, as for the chat room, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to achieve that, but I'm working towards it, and let's hope so. And if you've got any comments on the FockhamHallRadio.com, I'll just give you another flash. Yeah. Showing off a bit, really. Been working really hard on that. Doesn't look like much work, but that's advertising tonight's program. And as I say, if anything goes wrong, if I'm booted off YouTube or anything like that, just go onto that website and look down the blog spot, which I'm thinking of putting at the top. I don't know. And you'll be able to see what happened. So, and also, as I say, on Wednesday, you might be able to see the show from, this is one with Caroline Stevens, Over the Rainbow, part 7, with Caroline and myself. You might be able to see it from FockhamHallRadio.com. I think I've given it enough plugs by now. You probably think, oh, bloody hell, he can't go on, doesn't he? Right, now coming up, I've got against all health and safety procedures, I'm going to tell a filthy Chris Whitty gag. So stay tuned. That's near the end, okay? And yeah, it's crappy. Now, first of all, I'm going to start talking about, oh yes, Ken, one of the people that does the research, one of the researchers, phoned me a couple of hours ago, and he's looking into Boris's girlfriend. I don't know if he fancies her or not, but he's looking into it, and he wants to download a picture of her, and he's not sure. Now, I haven't had time to do any research. Has Boris been married at all? Is he divorced? And I've seen pictures floating around of his present lady friend, allegedly, I believe, in a cult type ceremony. Now, I'm not going to say it's true or anything because I haven't checked it out, and it could be a Photoshop picture. It could be a load of nonsense. I don't know. So if anybody else knows anything about it, I'll be rather interested. And I'm going to look into that. And I think he's looking into it as well. So there might be feedback next week on that. So we'll just leave that in the open for the moment. Let's have a look in chat and see if there's any Americans in there that didn't understand the Batman gag. Right, let's have a quick look. And we've got Ralph. Hello, Ralph. We've got Squirrel Ralph. Well, evening. Got Ralph, and here we go. Now, I've got an apology to make because last week we spoke about President Kennedy's assassination. And I think it's to Ralph, I'm not sure. And because I wavered a bit, and I thought maybe Kennedy didn't issue debt-free currency, and maybe he didn't go for the Federal Reserve, because I saw a video with the Corbett report and G. Edward Griffin. Well, I've done some more research, and Ralph, you were right. I was wrong. Yes, he did go for the Federal Reserve. Yes, he did issue debt-free dollars, and it all sort of adds up that the banksters did him in. So, but I always think that why we go through life is a series of mistakes, and we learn by our mistakes. So I wavered a bit, but then thanks to Ralph, he put me back on the track again. So there we go. And I think that, well, what do you think about it? Mozart was crap at music when he was 3 months old, wasn't he? And and most of these musicians were shit at music when they was about a year old or 6 months old. We've all got to learn. And I think life is a learning process. And the big problem is people are so worried and frightened of making a mistake. But my feeling is it's not a mistake, it's a learning process. Because if you don't learn from mistakes, that is a mistake. But if you do learn from a mistake, then yes, I mean, I made so many mistakes, I could actually start a consultancy on it. You know, I'm pretty good at making mistakes. In fact, excuse me showing off, I'm bloody brilliant at making mistakes. The older I get, the better I am at it, you know. Right, let's have a look in chat again. What we got here? Evening. Hello, DJ B2. Evening, everyone. Now we've got Emin. Is it true it was when she was at uni? Oh, this is about Boris's lady friend, girlfriend. She could pass it off as a laughing laugh, though. I think it was a student theatre production. Got a good point there, Emin. Like I say, I haven't looked into it. I don't really know. Now we got here, Emin. I'm sure it didn't involve pig's heads or anything. Oh yeah, that was Cameron putting his toddler into a pig's head, and yes, he sold pig's head sausages after that. You had to be careful not to chew any wiry hairs, you know. Oh, I suppose you saw that. Was it last week? I did it. I think it was about the pigeon. If you missed it, when this show's over, go on to last week's. Now, Boris probably got up to much more involved ceremonies at Oxford. Yeah, you're right there. Yeah, but talk about ceremonies and witchcraft and stuff like that. Colin got in touch, and he hasn't been dragged off by the Yeti or the Abominable Snowman. no, he's a very thorough researcher, and he'll probably be ready for another show in about a week or two's time. But he really goes into he really dots the I's and crosses the T's. So you realise that anything coming from Colin, he's really thoroughly researched it. Right. Now, what we got here, Eamon, not to mention his baby pigeon. That's right, at Eton. Yes, that was the ex-chancellor of the Exchequer, wasn't it? Yes, so the baby pigeon. Oh, dear. Yes, certainly. Bloody hell. I mean, after I broadcast that, Eric the pigeon didn't come down for his morning food because I put some birdseed out for him every day. And it's surprising. They're there waiting for me, 7 o'clock every morning. What bleeding time do you call this? I like feeding dicky birds though. Right, what we got here? DJ B2. Boris was the one who had to hold the pig's head for Cameron. Could Cameron tell the difference? I suppose it's a matter of taste, isn't it? Now there's a mouthful, isn't there? I think what I've just said was in bad taste, wasn't it? Right, now tonight's program is actually called, which is a bit of a strange title, I agree, hang on, I forgot what it's called. It's called Naughty, I call them Nasties. It's NAZI's, because I know for a fact that word is picked up by YouTube software. So I won't know, I'll just say Nasties. Naughty Nasties Misdirection Syndrome. So what am I actually talking about? Well, my view is that you always notice a fake opposition if they go on and on and on about the naughty nasties. Because, well, I'm sure that I don't like condemning people out of hand or anything like that. Excuse me, I must have a glug. Now, Alex Jones, yeah, he does a pretty good program. Old croaky voice, but what gets me, anything evil or nasty, he blames on the naughty nasties. If you said there's dog shit on the pavement, he said, yeah, it was the nasties. They actually had a plan to spread dog shit everywhere so people would slip arse over tit on it, and it comes in every time. Now, let's get some facts and figures. In 1945, the nasties, NAZI's, were completely decimated. Apart from in Spain, which was fascism basically, in Spain and South America, where it lived on for a couple of decades. But ever since 1945, because of what happened in Germany with Mr. H abolishing usury, and as I've said many times before, World War II was fought on behalf of banks because they didn't want other countries following suit by abolishing usury. So Germany had to be destroyed. And ever since 1945, because I think, sorry, I'm running ahead of myself there, that Mr. H got in as a fluke. He wasn't expected to. And it was an oversight by the banks, what happened. So since 1945, any political party or anything like that would advocate the abolishing of usury is decimated immediately. That's it. Infiltrated and spun out. And now the nasties are used as a misdirection. Now, when I say misdirection, that is a term that's used by illusionists. Now, I was great friends with Dave Starbuck, who was a comedy illusionist, and he knew what was going on 30, 40 years ago. And he noticed that governments were using almost identical techniques as he was using in his illusionist act. Now, so very careful, I say illusionist, not magician. There's a big difference between a magician and an illusionist. He was an illusionist. And one of the techniques they use, I'm not an illusionist, is misdirection. And that is, whilst they're doing something sneaky on the stage, they push people's attention somewhere else. And this is what I think all this about the naughty nasties is about, because they're pushing people's attention away from the fact that communism is not only breathing down our necks, it's in our face. Because isn't it strange that the atrocities that happened in the former Soviet Union put other atrocities into a cocked hat? It was unbelievable. And this is an article that I wrote, which you can actually read on the website, which I won't go on about because you're probably bloody fed up with hearing me talking about it, about what is actually, and I'll read it out now. Where is it? I've lost it. Controlled opposition. And here it is. The way I smell a rat is controlled opposition always compare things to the nasty nasties. No mention of how society is being led down the communist road, neither any mention of the former Soviet Union's genocide of an estimated 40 to 60 million, mainly Christians. Nobody knows the exact figure, and some say around 100 million were exterminated. The silence is deafening, but still the nasty nasties, which again, really saying NAZI's, comparisons go on and on like a long playing record that's got stuck in the groove. I'm not denying the nasty nasties committed atrocities, but so did the Allies. Neither am I praising the nasty Nazis. Oops, it just slipped out there. I'm just getting things into perspective. We should be presented with a real view of history instead of a selective one for political and financial purposes. The lucrative political view of history peddled by Hollywood, now aided by controlled opposition, fits in neatly as a distraction from reality. Controlled opposition have now taken over from Hollywood to peddle the nasty NAZI's narrative that was once used for lucrative and political reasons. You notice I chose my words very carefully there. It is now designed to turn people's attention away from backdoor communism that's staring us in the face. And that's what I really believe is going on. It's a misdirection. That's what we're actually witnessing. And there's lots of people that keep banging on about it. Alex Jones bangs on about it. Now, David Icke, I'm sure he's a pretty pleasant bloke, but I wrote an article about David Icke because somebody's done a, inverted commas, exposure of him. Bit iffy. So this is my sort of counteraction. And you can read this on the website. And I put down, in my view, David Icke is the court jester without the humour. He has and continues to be used, but I get the feeling he doesn't realise it, or maybe doesn't want to realise it. He states a lot of extremely poignant truths, but then loses the plot. For example, before meeting Credo Mutwa, which I pronounced that incorrectly, I know, who allegedly had connections to the CIA, what David Icke said was logical. Then he loses the plot waffling on about prominent people shape-shifting. The point I'm getting at is David Icke is very useful to the controlled opposition brigade. I think deep down he is a good man. The controlled opposition are psychopaths, not David Icke. Whenever a psychopath's plot is revealed, they always accuse the accuser of being mentally ill or a loony. Psychopaths are also obsessed with collectivism, that they control and pigeonholing everyone into communities. Therefore, anyone who follows David Icke can easily wrongly be pigeonholed as an outrageous conspiracy theorist and loony. David had to be made to look like a loony first, hence he was easily allowed onto the mass-controlled media. I question if the CIA or UK Secret Service may have had something to do with him looking as if he were drugged or hypnotised when he appeared on Wogan. He was wearing a purple tracksuit and speaking as if he wasn't the full ticket. I haven't any evidence to support my observation, but it would add up. Now, that's a point, I've often thought of. Has anybody else got any thoughts about that? Because he did look a bit sort of drugged. And I won't go on about it, but you know what happened in the Nuremberg trials in 1945, and I'm hopping backwards forwards in history. But one of the oh god, what was his name? I know that one of the prisoners was not only hypnotized, he was drugged very badly, and he was sitting in the witness box, sort of going, and you can actually see him. He was just not with it, and he was badly drugged. It was Hess, Rudolf Hess, and they actually admitted on a documentary once, which was the BBC. So, as you can see him in the doc there, with several of psychiatrists around him, and they have sort of admitted that he was drugged. But again, that's another question. So if they could drug people then to say anything they want, come forward to, I think, it was David late 80s, was it 90s, early 90s? He was on Wogan. Just think what they could do then. So I haven't got any evidence of it, but it all seems to sort of add up, because they needed a court jester and a Pied Piper, as I call them. Now I've got some interesting details in chat at the moment. What have we got here? Oh, sorry, I've already read that one out. There we go. Emin, using the nasty nasties as the boogeymen. I like that term. He is the boogeyman. He's looking even more hypocritical now that old and mentally disabled people have been put under do not resuscitate notices on the pretext of having COVID. Yeah. But have you noticed? And I don't want to keep going on about Alex Jones, but he can't speak for more than about 10 minutes before he says, "Yeah, it was the nasty." You understand what it is? Great voice. But I think he's deep down, he's a good bloke, but I think he is controlled opposition. He may or may not know it, but I think he is. How on earth does a person come over to Great Britain and manage to get on the BBC? If you or I try to get on the BBC, I think we probably have more chance of. Well, I wouldn't want to go on the BBC, but if the offer was there, I'd probably have more chance of finding a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The BBC. The only reason the BBC would want me on there would be to humiliate me. And I know that Dave Starbuck, the ex Illusionist, who really found out what was going on, and he was also a journalist. And I've probably told you that story about Jimmy Savile, when a nurse, he interviewed a nurse who caught Jimmy Savile red-handed in the mortuary. And it was the time when Jimmy Savile was riding high in the ratings and, very famous. He couldn't put a foot wrong. And when the nurse walked out the room, I mean, Dave Starbuck got lots of, shall we say, loony people that made up stories. He thought she had made it up because it was so incredible, the story. So he just screwed up paper that he'd made notes on, chucked it in the bin, and he had a guilty conscience about that. He wished he'd never done it. But as I said, that was that time and that place, and anybody would have probably done the same. And he tried to contact that nurse when it all came about Jimmy Savile. And apparently she passed away. And he really did bite that. I can understand how he must have felt, but he wasn't to know. I mean, if you're a journalist, you see loads and loads and loads of people, and there's a lot of loopy-loos out there. And at the time, it was that time and that place. If she came along now, then it would be a very different time and place. I've got Emin again. The nasty nasties were influenced by British and American eugenicists in the first place. Yes. And you know who invented concentration camps? The British in the Boer War. Yes, because what we did, we had a scorched earth policy. And did the same in, I think it was Malaya, in the 50s. And that is, what they did is the enemy, who were the Boers, they relied upon these farms and that for their supplies and et cetera. So what the British did, they rounded up Boer farmers' families, put them in concentration camps, and then caught fire, burnt their houses down and destroyed all the crops. So they virtually starved the Boer army out. And what happened is they tried to kill women and children. This is documented. They put bits of metal into corned beef and things like that, and women and children were literally starving to death. And it's been a big cover-up, but you can find out a lot of truth about what happened in the Boer War, and it's pretty horrendous. But yes, British did invent concentration camps, eugenics, and eugenics is still a big thing, and this is what we're seeing today. So history does repeat itself; it always does. But no, it's sort of what's getting me now is we've got what I call fake gurus. Have you seen them on YouTube? These fake gurus that sit there with such wise words, such as, if you put one foot in front of the other one, you will move forward. And all their followers go, oh, what an amazing statement. I'm taking the piss there, actually. But when I was much younger, when I had my hair down to there, I wouldn't say I was a hippie, a bit. Most blokes had their hair long. I'll go back a few decades now. I think, well, life is a learning process. And I went to one of these talks by one of these gurus because I was sort of heavily into yoga. I did yoga, and what was the other one? All these sort of people that have been abducted by people, UFOs and that. And most were talking bullshit, actually. Oh, yes, I was abducted, and but anyway, I'll go into that. Anyway, I went to see one of these gurus who was always like this, long hair. And they always have very attractive ladies around them with the old lipstick blob on their pineal, on the front third eye. And they had these saris on, even though they were British, I suppose. And their followers are all sort of as if they're absolutely stoned out of their brain on something. I don't know what it was, but it was all sort of. And one thing I did learn, and that is we've all got the finest gurus, we've all got the finest psychiatrists, and we've all got the finest doctors. And you know who that is? Ourselves. Because we know ourselves better than anybody else, don't we? And when you think about it, why can't you be your own guru? And this is all part of this sort of collectivism. And what we've got now with this collectivism is we've got what I call Pied Pipers. And again, going back to my notes, and again, you can read this on, where is it? Yes, now it's about Nigel Farage. Now, Nigel Farage, I believe, is a Pied Piper. Now, put down Farage, or Fartas, as I call him, is, in my view, a Pied Piper. He initially entices people by telling them what they want to hear. Once enticed, he leads them down the establishment road to hell. Little Tommy Tucker of Luton, who pranced around displaying the flag of a country we're not allowed to criticise, did the same, and it may have misfired. Now, what's happened to little Tommy Tucker of Luton? I think you know what I'm talking about. So-called celebrities are doing similar, getting a following, then leading their flock down the path to establishment hell. Often, these so-called celebrities lack talent, but are hyped up as being exceptional. How did they get where they are with such little talent? Could it be a case of get rich and famous providing you do what we say? Apparently, the mafia would carry out their own version of the law on behalf of a victim. But there were strings attached. The victim, who the mafia carried out a task for, would then forever be under their rule, and would have to do what they say or else. The mafia has many guises, and we know the criminal underworld operate in political, entertainment, and industrial circles. To what extent is debatable. I question how an actor that doesn't act, but is himself in every part, gets a lucky break. A pub pianist whose average hitting the big time also springs to mind. I'm not accusing, but the word blackmailable instantly springs to mind. Those in the limelight often have a dark side to their life. Again, I'm not accusing, as I lack evidence. Could it be a case of you do what we tell you, or we will air your dirty laundry in public? And I've often thought that. It sounds very strange. Now, let's go back in chat again. And what we got here? Got Ralph, Brave New World. Wasn't that? Is that Huxley? I think it was Huxley, Brave New World. Because there's a film, wasn't there? I've never seen it, but I've been urged to see it. It was made in just before World War II. And it almost predicted World War II. Brave New World, I think. And it's got, hello, Angela. Hi, Chris and everyone. Hope you are well, enjoying the sun. Yeah, it's good, wasn't it? It's like a UFO. I hadn't seen the sun for so long, I was beginning to forget what it looked like. Oh, do you know something? The old temperatures didn't half go up today, didn't it? Cool. It's off with the old thermals and walking around. Really good it is. Now, Squirrel Girl. Bindi. Yes, Indy Bindi. Bindi, Bandy, Bandy, Bindi. Yes, I mean, for example, the Dalai Lama. He's fully behind Greta Thunberg, or Fartberg, or whatever you want to call her, and all this new Green Deal, because they are the fake greens. I mean, I think most people are real green. I mean, I don't want pollution, no. But I believe in logic and, you know, and using sensible things, not a political, shall we say, narrative, which Attenborough and Greta Thunberg, and I believe the Dalai Lama, people always say I pronounce his name wrong, but I couldn't give a shit, but that's the way I'll pronounce it, because I think he is a CIA puppet, as most of them are, you know, and he's another guru, you know. Remember, was it? He didn't say this, but I'm being a guru now. So would you like? So if I haven't got any sitar music, so if you could like to sit cross-legged on the floor and imagine that I've got a long beard and hair sort of going down my back, and remember, always remember this: woman that cooks potatoes and peas in same pot, very unhygienic. I think I'm a pretty good guru, actually. Mind you, you've got to be so far up your own arse, your eyes are brown. Personally, I think most of them are self-righteous gits. Not all. I mean, there are some, I suppose, that are all right. But, you know, they always get a following. And it's like a father figure they're looking for. And this is what collectivism is all about. And this is what frightens me about collectivism, because whether you're talking about the naughty nasties or communism or whatever you want to talk about, whatever involves collectivism results in, I've found, genocides. Because with collectivism, you know, people don't use their own conscience. They do what the leader tells them to do. You know, go and shoot those people. You're all right. Bang! You know, that's what they're doing all the time. You know? So that's it, really. Now, talking about mafia and the underworld, I've got a little story here to tell you, which is quite interesting. Of two situations. No, I haven't been involved with the mafia, but I do believe the criminal underworld is very much involved in most of industry. Now, I'll be very careful what I say, because I don't want to end up with concrete boots trying to swim in a river. So, and this was a long time ago, but even so, I'll be very careful what I say. Now, last week, I did mention that I was site architect on a very large project. Well, it wasn't the whole project. It was all different segments on this industrial project for this one client. And my area was just one building, and there was a site architect for another building, another site architect for another building. Anyway, on with the story. What happened is I was inspecting because it all had to come up to regulations regarding fire. So they had to put lots of, excuse me one moment, fireproofing in, you see. And the client was super rich. They had so much money, they didn't know what to do with it. You know, it's sloshing around. They were American. And this is in Britain, by the way. And I was walking around doing sort of inspection, and one of the client representatives came up to me and said, it's in your interest to turn a blind eye to fireproofing that doesn't come up to the regulations, or you'd be looking for another job, if you get what I mean. Didn't say in a meter or anything like that. It was just as I was walking around. So I just decided to ignore him and come and just carry on doing what I was trained to do, because fireproofing is there for a reason. And I know that people are paid off with things. Now, I was thinking, if that building was to catch fire, I have the greatest respect for firemen, because they're very educated blokes, and they've got to understand how buildings work. And if they believed that part of this building was fireproofed and they went in and say a staircase collapsed on them or something like that, it could kill them. So they've got to rely and to look at drawings that are inaccurate or to understand. I wouldn't be able to live in my conscience. I just wouldn't do it. So anyway, I had a second warning. And this character came up to me and he said, and he was quite a high profile bloke. And he said, I told you to turn a blind eye. I said, well, how are you going to get it through the regs? I went to the company. We tell them, don't worry about the regs. He said, how do you like it if it came out of your pocket? There's cutbacks. You would turn a blind eye. I said, no, I won't. I've got a conscience. And if there's ever a fire in this building, a fireman got killed, I'd never forgive myself. And I'm sorry, it's unethical what you're saying. And they did what they threatened me with. They gave me the boot. And they got a bloke, another site architect in, who was prepared to turn a blind eye. So I know there's a particular building that's, so far it's okay, and but it doesn't come up to the fire regulations, even though it's probably been signed off as coming up to the fire regulations. That's all I'm going to say, because these were very big, this client was. Now, that really shook me, that did. It shocked. I was really in shock with that. And at first time I got a warning, I thought it was a bit of a joke. But strangely enough, the chap that replaced me, he had no ethics whatsoever. You know, it was yes or no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. You know, that's, and there was an overlap. He came along and he said, you don't need all that fire stuff there. You don't need that. I said, yeah, but it doesn't come to free. Not a big company, all this sort of stuff, you know. Anyway, that's what happens. And that's why you have these disasters in buildings and things. Look at Roland Point. That was in the 70s. What happened with that was there was these special pegs that were going in the different slabs going up the building. And because I actually knew the bloke who was one of the inspectors. He went on to the court case, and he was an independent, expert construction. He lectured us when I was at college. That's how I knew him. He was a lecturer, and he told us what happened at Roland Point. And what happened is they got all these special pins delivered, and they didn't know what they're for, so someone went up the scrapyard and got money for them, and the steel corroded, and the slabs went bang, 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 and it was due to a gas explosion, and that's why half the building fell down. And it's just incompetence, and it was due to a site inspector looking the other way, and just we don't need them, you know, but not doing their job properly. So I wonder if that site inspector actually had a conscience, because I think it killed several people. So anyway, these things go on. As I say, that is my brush with rather unpleasant people, and but I've got a clean conscience. Everything I did was to the regulations, so there it is. But there was another situation. I worked in another place. I'm going to be a little bit vague on it. And there was an office junior there, very pleasant sort of chap. And his father had a Ford Cosworth. And it was something his father had always wanted. And he saved and saved and saved. And he loved this car. it was his dream car, and some undesirables nicked it, and they virtually wrecked the car. But he got the car back, and he was out of pocket. The car was virtually a wreck, and the police caught them, and it went to court, and they had the social workers in court giving the sort of, oh yeah, these poor chaps. And what the court said was, they took it without the owner's consent. And his father said, no, they stole it. No, they took it without, as if they knew the person, but they sort of took it on that occasion without his consent because he got it back. And these youths was sneering in the court, sort of, and I got away with it. She got away with it, and they were caught. Anyway, time went on. I left that contract. Time went through. Now, my sister lived in the same area that I was doing that contract. I won't say where. And I went to see my sister. Not a pleasant experience because I don't get on with my sister. And she had this must have been several months later. Now, the office junior that told me this story about what happened with these youths sneering and all this, that, and the other, he was a half Irish, and his mother was Irish, and her uncle was a senior officer or something in the IRA. And he said, we're saving up for them to do a little bit of justice. And I thought, yeah, it's a bit of big talk, isn't it? That's sort of, same old sort of stuff, we're going to do this, do that. Well, as I say, I left that contract, time went on. And then I went to see my sister, looked in the local newspaper. Could be a coincidence, I don't know. 3 youths have been severely beaten up. Police are mystified because no cash was stolen from them. And there's a picture of these youths and their faces. I shouldn't laugh, but they're black eyes and everything. Now, could I be putting 2 and 2 together and making 100? Could it be the 3 youths that stole the car and the IRA had actually come over and done a job? I don't know, but certainly looks that way, doesn't it? Interesting story. I will never know the truth. But this is the police given up here. Anybody knows anything? I thought, well, all right, no, I know nothing. But again, I didn't have any evidence, didn't have any proof, but it's strange, isn't it? And I wouldn't anyway. I did. Who have we got in chat? Now let's have a quick look. Now, we got a lot in chat here. We got Urban Stealth Campervan Man. Now, please go on to his YouTube site of the same name. The Urban Stealth Campervan Man. Brilliant artist. Does fantastic drawings and paintings and things like that. And really talented. They look like photographs. They really do. And if you want to laugh, there's another one called Socks and Sandals. But Urban, he's in the same stamping grammar as he's from the same neck of the woods as me, you see. Similar sense of humour, And he's probably on here just to hear the Chris Whitty joke, but that's coming out a bit later. Now, where are we? So, as I say, by the way, thanks for the great videos, great laugh, and hope your van's all right. Now, where are we? What we got here? We got Emin. I think there's evidence for reincarnation, but it's not as fluffy as a lot of New Age makes out. Well, what gets me about the New Age? They're so positive about things. Now, at the beginning of this, I admitted that I'm very good at being wrong. In fact, I'm so good at being wrong, but I like to show off about it. Yes, I'm wrong. Why are people so worried about being wrong? I'll give you an example where I was wrong. I used to think that the idea of, shall we say, having a minimum wage, sorry, not minimum wage, social credits, where you get paid in the 70s, show my age a bit now, it was suggested that everybody at the age of 16 gets a national wage. And it doesn't matter whether you work or not, you get the national wage from the government, you see. And that's a pretty good idea. So there'll be no such thing as unemployment or unemployment pay. You'd have this safety net that would pay out whether you're working or you're not. And it doesn't matter whether you were poor, rich, or whatever. So even, Charlie Boy, big ears, could claim it. What? Oh, that sounds a good idea, doesn't it? And I thought that's a bloody good idea, isn't it? And they said that people would take more risks and you get more entrepreneurs, and it did sound good. But then it evolved into social credit system, and that is a big, big no-no, because they've got that in China, and if you walk down the road and fart at the wrong time, you get, so much percent knocked off your social credits. Or, if you're caught doing a Jimmy Riddle up a tree, the camera catches you get another percentage knocked off your social credits. So everybody's walking along going, like this fool's happy, sort of saying, isn't the government marvellous? Well, what? Spiffing, eh? What? And it's all bullshit, It's really the ultimate in controlled totalitarianism. And I'm totally against social, but I mean, that is, it sounded a good idea, but I think it's been corrupted along the way. But the New Age, New Age again was not quite what you think it is. It's a bit like a hippie movement. I mean, I always thought, well, that nice, all peace and love and nice. Well, it was founded by the KGB. Seriously, if you look into it, it was a brainchild of the KGB. Look up Yuri Bezmenov. He doesn't say it exactly, but I've actually looked into it further. It's all very come out of the Cold War. Now we got here Ralph. In February 1968, the Beatles travelled to Rishikesh in northern India, which had some sitar music, to take part in the transcendental, was it? I can never terrible pronouncing words. Transcendental meditation TM training course at the ashram of Maharishi Mashi Yogi. Yes, I was going to be a yogi. I was going to call myself Bear. They could call me Yogi Bear. Sorry. I had to slip that one in. Hello, boo-boo. For example, some children, this is Emin, for example, some children have accidentally described details of another life. Yes, I believe in reincarnation, and also display birthmarks or deformities that correlate to how the person they claim to have been died. Yes, I've heard about that. There was a young child that described accurately that he was on board a submarine in the 1920s. And he described this to such detail. And it's only an expert in submarines, British naval warfare, that went, huh? Because there's no way he could have known about the things he was saying. And there's been reincarnations of pilots and things like that. But what gets me about reincarnation, ladies always think they were Marie Antoinette, and fellas always think they're Napoleon. But why can't there be something boring like a laboratory cleaner attendant or something like that? Or just someone who shovels shit all day. They're always interesting people, aren't they? But no, seriously, I do believe, and Patton believed in reincarnation. He said he'd be. And some people think that Trump is the reincarnation of Patton, because Patton died in whether he's killed or assassinated, we do not know. But in 1945, under very suspicious circumstances, I think Trump was born in 46. And they reckon that he sounds like Patton. And I know that my dad reckoned that I was very much like his brother. Now, his brother died before I was born. And my cousin, who knew my dad's brother, he reckons that a lot of my personality was very similar to my dad's brother. Because my dad he was the youngest of the family, and he had an older brother that was about 3 years older than him. And his older brother looked after him when he was at school. Any bullies that come out of my dad, his older brother would come along, bosh. Make sure that, and my dad had a lot of respect, and he was very close to his older brother. He had another brother that was about 15, 16 years older than him, and he wasn't that close to him. But they reckon that I am like a sort of, I wouldn't say reincarnation, but very similar to my dad's, because I was very close to my dad. So maybe, I don't know. But sort of new agey stuff, I think. Oh yeah, that was right. My dad's brother, he liked to be sort of, he's a bit of a loner, and he liked countryside and things like that. So he was very sort of, so yeah, interesting. I think he died 2 years before I was born. That you can reincarnate, That's very interesting. In fact, we could do a program about that, because I'm hoping to get John Hammer on soon to talk about his books. So that will be soon. That's when, probably before, I don't know if it'll be before or after Colin finishes his research. But say now, Emin, New Age gurus, I meant to say forgetful grammar. Yes, New Age gurus. There we go. Ralph, a lot of the horseplay in their films looked quite Masonic to me. Oh, that was the Beatles. Yeah, that is Hard Day's Night. I like the Beatles though, even though McCartney endorsed the. I wonder if Lennon would have. I don't. I mean, about that. I don't know if you've heard the conspiracy about Paul McCartney being replaced, and he actually died in 1966. I don't think so. I think that's a bit pulling a fast one. But people, I'll tell you one thing that what I say always gets people roaring with laughter, and that is, I believe the pyramids were made of concrete. They go, concrete. But there's I think it's an architect that's looked at it from an architectural point of view, and there's been several engineers that looked at it. It's logical, because there's no evidence that they, drag stones there. Now, we've got a very interesting question here. Chris, did you take LSD in 1967? Well, I've been a bit too young, wouldn't I? Well, that was the Beatles tune, wasn't it? LSD, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Although Paul McCartney always said it wasn't nothing to do with LSD, I think it was. But the strange thing about the Beatles is, did you know that their manager, what was his name now? Bloody. It was actually in the news. He died, didn't he? What was his manager's name? He actually bought up, was it Brian Epstein? I think it was Brian Epstein. He bought up loads and loads and loads of their records to get them to the top of the charts. That's how they got to the top of the charts. It was money. But Ron, who's another researcher, who's a Beatles enthusiast, reckons that ELO was the next progression to the Beatles. He said, if you listen to ELO, it's the way the Beatles would have gone. He's got a point there, hasn't he, really? I like ELO. I think they're pretty good. I mean, I still think the Beatles stuff that they did when they was stoned out their brain was probably the best they ever did. But little story, which is supposed to be a true story. Now, my brother-in-law worked for the BBC. He was in the drawing office there. And the story that went round was that when the, Sgt. Pepper's album came out from the Beatles, that's George Michael, was it George Michael did that? I don't mean the singer George Michael, the bloke that was caught in the lavvy. I mean the other bloke. Is it George Michael? And apparently, my brother-in-law worked with sound engineers and that, and they said that the Beatles heard it and said, fantastic group, who are they? Because for two reasons, they were so pissed at their brain they didn't recognise their own music, and the sound mixing, because they got advanced in electronics then, when they mixed it in the studio, it all sounded very, very different, because they double tracked, treble tracked and things like that. But I still like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. But what is the Magical Mystery Tour all about? I mean, I've seen that film. I haven't got the foggiest idea what it's about. It's just sort of a load of nothing, isn't it, really? Right, now let's have a look. We've got Emin. I don't believe in fake Paul either, but Lennon was definitely bumped off. But yes, hit by ECI Hitman. Even Wiki used to have some of the evidence. That's interesting because what I've actually heard is that Yoko, it's like the old joke, what's yellow and ugly and sleeps alone? Yes, it's Yoko Ono. It's a bit of a sick joke. But even Yoko Ono, they reckon, was a handler because everything he did up to meeting Yoko Ono was sort of logical, and then he became a bit illogical. Don't know. Interesting, you know. Right, we got here, Emin. Jose Perdomo was the hitman that killed Lennon. Had to look it up. Yeah, that's yeah, it all a bit iffy to me. But I can't understand why John Lennon lived in some crap hole in New York. With this sort of money, I'd live in a nice posh place miles away in the country with security fence around it. Why do people with lots of money live in shitholes? For one of that. Mind you, I don't like cities, so you know, that's sort of that. Anyway, sorry about the introduction today, but I was due to have a different type of introduction, but the bastard wouldn't load. Maybe next week. Now, just a quickie. Do you want to hear the Chris Whitty joke? Which sums up the government, okay? Chris Whitty comes out of his house one morning, you see, and there, right in front of him, is this bloody great pile of steaming hot dog shit. Looks down at it, looks a bit puzzled, gets his finger, puts it in the dog shit and goes, smells like dog shit. Tastes like dog shit. Bit of luck I didn't tread in it. And that is actually how the government think. Right. That's not very good one, is it? No. Right. Now we got another one from Mick. Oh, he's a real Beatles enthusiast here. I read a biography of Lennon, and this is Emin, and I think it said the Rothschilds had some connection to Yoko Ono, maybe funded her art show or something. Yeah, it's interesting. Because when you look at the so-called art, I mean, modern art, I'm sorry, it loses me. You know, a lot of it to me is, yeah. I mean, I know I'm not gonna hurt the urban stealth camperman's feelings here. I'll be very honest. I'm not that keen on abstract. He does do good abstracts, but I'm not keen on abstract. But I'm not saying that's my own personal taste. It's a bit like, I don't know, brands of tea or brands of coffee. Some people like some brands, something. It doesn't mean to say, you know, it's just my personal taste. But I think that when you look at abstract, there are some. Well, Dali was not abstract as such. Some of the stuff he did he was a good artist, and they're very, very weird. I mean, that one with time, he painted dreams. Dali did, and I'm more into the impressionists, like Kamar. You know, there's loads of brilliant artists around, but Andy Warhol is one I can't stand. I'm sorry, he wasn't an artist. He was a mental case. Sex maniac, mental case. And some of the things you heard, yeah. I actually saw a film that Andy Warhol had made, yeah, and they all look pissed. And here he is, oh yeah, well, oh, it's Andy, he knows what to do. And I mean, I'm sorry, loads of pictures of tin cans and Marilyn Monroe. Sorry, it doesn't do anything for me. Maybe I'm ignorant, I don't know, but I just don't like that. Just doesn't do anything for me. There are some sort of, but Andy Warhol, I call him Andy Arsehole, quite honestly. Use this. Anyway, I'm almost up to my hour. So please remember, I'll give it another run. Where are we? Please remember to go on to. Oh, come on, where is it? That's it. fuckemallradio.com. And where are we? And I'm trying to get rid of this. Here we are. And there's the website, fun and games. And I hope that by Wednesday, I'll get rid of this bleeding barra. Get off. That's it. I hope by Wednesday, I might get something ironed out where you'd be able to watch Caroline and I on live on from the website. Now, it'll be next Wednesday, 6 o'clock. Now, the reason we're not on YouTube is that I got banned. And all it needs is one more step out of place. And that's it. I'll be off for about, a week. So I'm very careful now. I'll only go solo on YouTube and I'll watch what I say. But when there's two of you, it's surprising, you can become a little bit loose-tongued. And if anything goes wrong where I'm banned from this program, well, I've only got myself to blame. Whereas what I'm hoping to do, we go live on Facebook, Caroline and I do. And again, you can find the link on the website. So Caroline and I will be doing Over the Rainbow Part 7, 6 o'clock this Wednesday, but not on YouTube. And I will be back at 8 o'clock next week. Same place, same time, live as well. And thank you very much for joining me. And to save me playing the harmonica, outside Tesco's with a little dog going, no, I ain't got a dog. And might want to buy me a cup of coffee. Links down. Well, there will be links. It's not at the moment, but after the program, I was a little bit short on time today. And I'll probably improve on the type of gags I do next week, because the Chris Whiffy one wasn't that good, was it? No. Well, mind you, I think the Batman one wasn't bad. Anyway, have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Oh, hang on, we've got two people in chat. What we got here? Flesh. Oh, yes, that was the art show, Yoko Ono, or whatever you call her. And we got here, thanks, Chris, bye all, seeing you. Anyway, and remember, I do a daily blog on the website. So thanks for joining me, and good night.